Chapter 157. The gigantic wild boar continued to wreak havoc in the city, destroying a large number of buildings. Erica jumped onto a building, and with a flash of light, a set of movement-like clothes replaced the red evening dress Erica wore before. Steel Lion and Lionheart King, please listen to the oath of Knight Erica Brantley. With the recitation of the spell, a magic formation appeared beside Erica, and a steel lion head emerged from the magic formation. The steel lion head opened its big mouth, and Erica thrust her hand into the steel lion head. Then, Erica jerked, and an exquisite rapier appeared in her hand. It's time for the duel, Lionheart, Coeur de Lion. Erica pointed the Lionheart in her hand at the gigantic wild boar, and the energy on the Lionheart skyrocketed, turning into a red lightning bolt and rushing toward the gigantic wild boar. The red lightning bolt hit the gigantic wild boar, and the energy radiated from the gigantic wild boar resisted Erica's attack. Bang! As if it had hit an insurmountable wall, there was a loud bang. Sure enough, it's a divine beast, Erica said as if she knew the result. Despite this, Erica continued to release energy to attack the gigantic wild boar. The gigantic wild boar, as if enraged by the continuous attack, slammed toward Erica. Erica struggled to hold her sword, and was slowly repelled by the impact of the gigantic wild boar. Finally, Erica retreated to the edge of the house. As if enraged by this little bug that could resist its attack, the gigantic wild boar suddenly slammed upward. The house Erica was in was instantly shattered, and Erica fell to the ground. At this moment, Wuming rushed over and hugged Erica. Wuming landed on the ground with ease. "It's better to leave this kind of thing to a man," Wuming said with a smile. Erica stared blankly at Wuming, obviously unable to react. Wuming put down Erica, and then rushed toward the gigantic wild boar. "Wait! That's a divine beast, which ordinary magicians can't deal with." As soon as Erica finished speaking, she saw a scene that she couldn't believe. Wuming jumped towards the giant wild boar and punched it. Boom! The giant wild boar was sent flying upwards. Erica looked at Wuming in a daze, as if she were looking at a human-shaped dragon. It seemed that Erica was right. Rumble! The giant wild boar landed exactly where the giant wild boar was originally standing. It was as if the giant wild boar had jumped up and landed on its head. Wuming clenched his fists in excitement. His ruby-like eyes were filled with an unruly expression. "Sure enough, the me who has grown is no longer the same as before," Wuming said as he clenched his uninjured right hand. Wuming's red eyes burned like boiling blood. Perhaps it was because of Wuming's dragonization, but Wuming's eyes had turned red a long time ago. Suddenly, a hurricane swept up from under the giant wild boar, and it was instantly torn apart. It doesn't seem to be an ordinary hurricane. Wuming sensed the surging magic power in the hurricane that was increasing. It increased by about the same amount as the giant wild boar that Wuming had just knocked down. Just as Wuming was about to attack, the hurricane instantly dissipated. Wuming saw a purple-haired figure in the ruins again. "Is it that young man from earlier?" Wuming took a closer look. As expected, his senses were right. He must have something to do with this. The purple-haired young man smiled at Wuming again, but this time, it was a smile filled with fighting spirit. Then, he turned into a gust of wind and left. Wuming didn't try to chase after him. Instead, he jumped back to Erica's side. "So then, Miss Erica, can you tell me more about this world?" Wuming asked with a smile. Erica didn't seem to react to it yet. She nodded blankly. Erica and Wuming sat on the seats of a certain train station. Due to the evacuation, the station was empty for the time being. After Erica returned to her senses, she immediately asked Wuming, "Why can you knock down a divine beast with a single punch? Are you a powerful magician from a mysterious place? Or are you a demon king?" Facing a series of questions from Erica, Wuming expressed that he didn't know what she was talking about. Why don't you tell me what that thing was first?" Wuming said. "Ha! You don't know what that thing is?" Erica said in surprise. Facing Erica's strange look, Wuming quickly said, "Just think of me as a reclusive magician who doesn't know anything about the world. I don't think an ordinary magician can knock down a divine beast with a single punch." Erica muttered. Although Erica was very suspicious of Wuming's origin, she still explained the series of questions about the mythological beasts just now to Wuming. Before human history, There were many powerful gods in the world, and these existences had no names. After the birth of human beings, these gods, while bestowing human beings with gifts, also persecuted human beings. People were afraid of these gods, so they made up myths and gave these gods names. The gods with names were bound by the myths that people had made up and gradually entered the myths. They became the gods of the myths that steadily carried out their duties. However, there were also some gods who were unwilling to perform their duties. They appeared in the world and became the god of disobedience who disobeyed their own myths. For the damage caused by the god of disobedience, ordinary people who didn't know magic would only be told that it was a natural disaster. Wu-ming also knew something about the god of disobedience, which was almost similar to the disobedient heroic spirit appearing in the world. Because the heroic spirit had restraining power, this kind of situation would not happen. And the gods in this world, although bound by the myths made by human beings, could still come to the world. Erica then told Wu-ming why they should fight against the god of disobedience. Different god of disobedience had different dangers. For example, the appearance of Poseidon would cause tsunamis, the appearance of the sun god would burn the earth, and the appearance of the god of war would cause wars. After learning that the appearance of the gods would cause various problems, Wu-ming had a clue about the problems caused by his arrival in this world. Am I judged as the god of disobedience by this world? Later Wu-ming asked, so, how did human beings survive? That's right, since the gods frequently appeared as the god of disobedience, how did human beings survive? Erica looked at Wu-ming with a more surprised look, as if she was asking if he was from this world. However, since Wu-ming was her savior, Erica continued to educate Wu-ming. Human beings were a kind of existence that could cause miracles. In this world, there were currently 6 gods who killed the god of disobedience for various reasons. They were called Kampoin, that is, the god slayers. The god slayers killed the god of disobedience and obtained the divine power of the god of disobedience killed, that is, authority. The god slayers who killed the god of disobedience who harmed human beings were also called Demon King, because of various problems. The god slayers sheltered human beings, destroyed the god of disobedience, and accepted the service of human beings. And just now, the giant wild boar and the hurricane that destroyed the wild boar were the incarnations of a certain god. After more or less understanding the background of this world, Wu-ming couldn't help but think of the purple-haired youth from before. Clearly, the other party was a god of disobedience. And at this moment, the world began to change color. Chapter 158. The sky was instantly filled with dark clouds, and the ground was filled with smoke. It began to rain like a storm. Thump, thump, thump. The ground shook. It was the sound of a giant creature moving step by step. Wu-ming and Erica looked toward the source of the sound. In the distance, the figure of a giant appeared. The giant's body was several hundred meters tall, and part of the giant's body was covered in a grayish-black ancient armor. The exposed skin and muscles were knotted together, making it seem particularly powerful. The giant's long white beard blocked the giant's nose and mouth, and its 2 white eyes, which seemed to have no sense of reason, hung in the sky like 2 huge copper bells. That's... Erica exploded. She used magic to change into battle clothes and ran toward the giant. Wu-ming shook his head helplessly and followed. Stay a moment, God! Cried Erica from behind the giant. Hearing someone calling him, the giant stopped and turned his head to look at the human who had stopped him. Human, how dare you stand in the path of a god? How bold of you! The giant questioned Erica with a thunderous voice. God, you must be the king of Sardinia, Mekhl, who is worshipped by the Phoenicians, Erica said. Mekhl was surprised. He said happily, Yes, I am Mekhl. I didn't expect someone to remember my name. How surprising. King Mekhl, please stop, or Sardinia will be destroyed. Erica continued to persuade him. Human, you know my name, but that doesn't mean you can stop me. Since you know my name, I won't hold you accountable. Then, a bolt of lightning struck Mekhl. Boom! A pair of goat eyes vaguely appeared in the cloudy sky, looking at Mekhl. Mekhl blocked the lightning with his arm. Seems like I have to speed up. With that, Mekhl left. Just as Erica was about to chase after him, a hand pressed down on her shoulder. Okay, didn't I tell you? Leave this to us men. Erica turned around, only to see Wu-ming's ruby eyes. In short, leave everything to me. After saying that, Wu-Ming walked in the direction that Mecher had left. If it's him, maybe. Erica thought. Erica shook her head and ran in the direction Mecher had left. The storm continued to fall, lightning flashed around, and thunder rumbled. Wu-Ming ran in the direction where Merca left and soon saw Merca stop. In front of Mecher, the purple-haired youth that Wu-Ming had met twice before was floating in front of him. You're willing to fight me even though you haven't gathered all your avatars. That's a good fight, Welslana, Mecher said. The purple-haired youth, Welslana, smiled faintly and said, I am the undefeated war god, an existence that seeks only one defeat. And now, there are not only two gods like us, King Mecher. It seems that I'm blind. I didn't expect another one of my kind to hide like a human. Mecher immediately turned to look at Wu-Ming. I'm sorry, I'm not a god. I'm just a traveler who has been to many places, Wu-Ming replied calmly. At this moment, Wu-Ming already knew why Mecher thought that he was one of their kind, the god of disobedience. Wu-Ming's origin dragon bloodline had been strengthened. As a origin dragon that could freely travel through all worlds, it could be said that every time Wu-Ming went to a world, the world would give him a new identity. In addition, Wu-Ming had a relationship with King Arthur, the Hero King, and others. Therefore, Wu-Ming was automatically judged as a mythical existence by this world, the god of disobedience. Now, Wu-Ming was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, completely disrupting the development and change of this world. I wonder if there are any legends about me in this world, Wu-Ming thought. You don't have to be humble, my fellow. However, although you're also a god, you can't interfere with my battle with Welslana, Mecher said. I don't have any objections. I'm only after failure. Even if it's 1 against 2, I'm confident, Welslana said arrogantly. You dare to say that, army god? Mecher mocked. Don't bother, Wu-Ming said. Both of you just go ahead. As soon as he said that, Mecher and Welslana's expressions changed. Even if you're one of our kind, you can't say that. You're really arrogant, unknown god. Mecher and Welslana were a little angry, but Wu-Ming was indeed confident. One had to know that Wu-Ming had a relic that could deal with gods. Xiaofan, can I do it now? Wu-Ming asked in his heart. No problem, Master Wu-Ming. Enkidu's gentle voice was heard. That was right. Ever since Wu-Ming came to this world, Wu-Ming realized that Enkidu had awakened. It seemed that because Wu-Ming was absorbing power from his roots, Enkidu had also benefited from it. At that moment, Enkidu had completely broken free from the chains that connected heaven and earth and had become Wu-Ming's exclusive relic. It was bound to Wu-Ming's soul. Then, let's begin, Mecher. Welslana. In an instant, a large number of golden ripples appeared behind Wu-Ming, and within the golden ripples, a few golden chains appeared. The chains rushed towards Mecher and Welslana. As Mecher's body was not agile and he was careless, he was instantly bound by the golden chains. Welslana felt that something was wrong and quickly used one of his clones, the Phoenix, to escape. It's just a chain. Let's see if I can break free from it. Mecher roared. However, no matter how hard Mecher tried, he could not break free from the chains that bound him. Could it be a relic? Welslana looked at the golden chains that were getting tighter and tighter, and said in shock. Take a guess. Wu-Ming smiled. In an instant, Wu-Ming's body shot towards Welslana. Welslana did not retreat and faced Wu-Ming head-on. I'll be happy if you have a relic. It seems like I have a chance to taste defeat. Welslana wanted to taste defeat, but it was not a meaningless defeat. He wanted to fully enjoy the battle before he lost. Come on then, Welslana. Chapter 159. Wu-Ming and Welslana each stretched out a hand and swung it at each other. Boom! The collision between the fists impacted the surrounding atmosphere, sending out a shockwave, accompanied by a loud noise. After a short separation, Welslana said, You're really powerful. My bull told me that you have such extraordinary power. Is that so? I have more than that. Wu-Ming stretched out his hand, and in an instant, a giant black hole appeared in front of Welslana, and even the ground began to be sucked up by the black hole. Magic strength black hole. What? Welslana was sucked in by the black hole, but Welslana immediately activated his Phoenix mode and escaped from the black hole's suction. Magic strength black dragon thunder. In an instant, a black dragon-shaped lightning rushed toward Wellerslana. Don't underestimate me. Wellerslana exited his phoenix mode and used his goat mode. In an instant, a large amount of lightning collided with Wuming's black lightning. Boom! The lightning exploded, and it made a deafening roar. Taking advantage of the collision between the two sides, Wuming raised his hand again. Magic strength, cardiac mastery. An invisible force spread to Wellerslana's body. Wellerslana spat out a mouthful of blood, and then the injury on his body instantly healed. That was the effect of his goat mode. The advanced spells Silent Ming used were all learned from the Nameless Spellbook. They were all instant death spells, and they were strengthened by the strengthening spells he learned from the Nameless Spellbook to increase their power. At this time Meckel's voice came. Even if I'm bound, you can't underestimate me. Unforgivable. Meckel's body was covered with Enkidu, but even so, Meckel still had brute force. He used his body to hit Wuming. Flash! Wuming's figure instantly moved to the other side of Meckel. Before he could stabilize his body, Wuming suddenly turned his body to the side. A golden sword swept past Wuming's side, and it cut through Wuming's side waist, taking away a trace of flesh and blood from Wuming. This is a golden sword that can cut the godhead? Wuming covered his abdomen and frowned. Wellerslana looked at Wuming with a golden sword in his hand. For Wuming, who was known as the god of disobedience, it could be said to have high-level divinity. And that golden sword had the power to cut the godhead. In other words, Wuming was now naked in Wellerslana's eyes. That's right, unknown god, this is my trump card. But Wuming sneered at Wellerslana's words, and then said, but as far as I know, Wellerslana, the god of war, must know the opponent's ability to use this sword. For those who don't know my real name, this sword can only be used as a weapon that ignores defense. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that a matter of course? Hiding one's name is also a means, it's great. An unknown god. Can you defeat me? Wellerslana began to shout excitedly. Then as you wish. A pair of dragon horns appeared on Wuming's head, and Kala said, Master, the analysis is complete. Well, look carefully, Wellerslana, this is your power. Create green item, advanced item creation. As the spell was recited, a golden sword appeared in Wuming's hand. This is... How is this possible? Wellerslana was in disbelief. That's right, Wellerslana, this is your golden sword that cut the godhead. Collis, who had a wealth of knowledge, after knowing the real names of Meckel and Wellerslana, she began to infuse the knowledge of those two into Wuming's mind. After all, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. Originally, Wuming, who didn't have the feeling, couldn't create the golden sword with create great item. However, Wellerslana used the golden sword to cut Wuming, and Wuming perceived the structure of this weapon. As the masterpiece of the gemstone master, Collis was a completely support-type magic attire, and had even turned into a silent noble artifact. It was completely possible to analyze the ability of the golden sword of Wellerslana. With all the buffs, and with the knowledge of this sword in Wuming's mind, Wuming successfully created Wellerslana's golden sword that cut the godhead. It's useless. Even if you created my sword, it's still a fake. Wellerslana said. Is that so? Then give it a try, Wellerslana. Wuming waved his hand forward, and several similar golden swords appeared beside Wuming. Wellerslana, as the undefeated god of war, you have 10 incarnations: strong wind, bull, white horse, camel, wild boar, youth, phoenix, ram, goat, and human warrior with a golden sword. The golden sword began to split, and more golden swords appeared. Legend has it that Wellerslana is also the guardian of the god of light, Mitra. Mitra is the incarnation of the sun, so Wellerslana is also related to the sun. Your name is Wellerslana, and you are also the god of conquest who is closely related to Hercules. Soon, a large number of golden swords appeared around Wellerslana, and the entire sky turned into a golden sword territory. At this moment, Wellerslana was trapped in the golden sword territory and could not escape. In West Asia, you are known as the guardian of light, and you have the same origin as Indra, the Thunder Emperor of India. You once appeared in Avesta as an eagle and were described as the symbol of royalty. Wellerslana is not only the god of victory, but also the guardian of royalty and the people. Therefore, The golden swords were all pointed at Wellerslana. Wellerslana is only your Greek name, and your real name is Bahram. Therefore, the golden sword stabbed at Wellerslana. Poochie poochie poochie. Wellerslana was pierced by a large number of golden swords, but he was still smiling. Is this the feeling of being defeated? It's not bad. Wellerslana smiled. I will come for you next time. You can't be defeated by others before I am resurrected, unknown god. Wellerslana disappeared with a satisfied expression. All the golden swords shattered, and the golden sword territory disappeared, turning into the storm again. Wuming looked at Mekl, who was standing at the side. This is unbelievable, Mekl said. This is my mistake. I didn't expect you to have a relic that can defeat gods. My kind, give me the price of my failure. Wuming summoned the golden sword again, but this time, it was much bigger than before. As you wish. Mekl disappeared in the sky, and the storm stopped raging. The sun reappeared in the sky, and the sunlight shone on the land that was full of destruction. Erica stood in the ruins, looking at Wuming, who was standing under the sun in disbelief. The seventh god slayer is born. Chapter 160. A week had passed since Wuming had killed Wellerslana and Mekl. Wuming sat cross-legged in a luxurious Western-style room with his eyes closed. Wuming, who had killed the two gods, naturally obtained 2 authorities. However, these 2 authorities were of little value to Wuming. Therefore, Wuming used his talent ability, the Noble Phantasm, and successfully merged the 2 authorities into one. Wuming was checking the authority that had become his Noble Phantasm. In Wuming's spiritual world, a huge stone slab was embedded in it. The huge stone slab was embedded with 12 small stone slabs. Like a clock, they were evenly distributed in 12 positions. It was just like a clock. In the middle of the 12 small stone slabs, there were 2 stone pillars, one long and one short. They were like the hour and minute hands on a clock. Dragon Seed, Giant, Warrior, Storm, Annihilation, Flood, Vitality, Kin, Thunder God, Phoenix, Sun, Magician. This was what Wuming's authority looked like after he had obtained Wellerslana and Mekl's authority. Each stone slab was engraved with different scenes, and the position of each stone slab corresponded to each scale on the clock. At that moment, the hour and minute hands were pointing at the small stone slab at 12 o'clock. The stone slab at 12 o'clock had a magician in a long robe engraved on it. Following Wuming's consciousness, the stone slab that was pointed at there started to glow. In the outside world, Wuming opened his eyes and casually stretched out his hand. A ball of flame appeared in Wuming's hand. As his consciousness changed, the flame in Wuming's hand turned into many things. First, it turned into a stream of water, then it turned into a ball of lightning, and then it turned into a purple mist. Wuming cast Yggdrasil's spells one after another, casting them freely. Wuming clenched his hand, and the purple mist disappeared. It seems that magician has increased my casting speed, Wuming said. Then on the stone plate in Wuming's heart, the short stone pillar turned to the 7 o'clock direction, and the stone plate also lit up. There was a human body engraved on this stone plate, and a large amount of energy filled this person. In an instant, Wuming felt a surge of vitality gushing out of his body. Wuming's mana, spirit, stamina, life force, and all his other attributes had been boosted. At this moment, Wuming felt like he wouldn't die even if his heart was dug out. Is this vitality? This feeling is really good. Wuming clenched his fist tightly and said excitedly. Each stone plate represented an ability and a form. However, because Wuming's previous authority was of little value to him, Wuming had upgraded it to a noble artifact. For example, the original form of the giant, the bull, only increased its strength unilaterally. For example, the original form of the dragon, the camel, increased its leg strength and physical toughness. Moreover, all the previous authority required an extremely strange method to activate. The bull required the other party to be strong, the camel needed to be seriously injured, and even the most lethal sun, the original form of the white horse, required the other party to be a sinner. Moreover, each authority could only be used once a day. Mekl's authority aside, Wellerslana's authority was undoubtedly of little value. After Wellerslana's authority and Mekl's authority merged and upgraded into Wuming's own noble artifact, Wuming completely mastered the authority that was upgraded into a noble artifact. There were no harsh conditions to use it, no useless abilities, and no restrictions to use it. It could be said that any one of the authority could be considered a separate authority. The only flaw was that Wu Ming couldn't use 3 or more authority at the same time. There were only 2 needles in the stone plate, and he couldn't point to 3 stone plates at the same time. Although Wu Ming was a little troubled, the authority relic seemed to be set up according to his current body's performance and characteristics. Wu Ming accepted his fate. At the very least, these 12 authorizations were useful. At that moment, a voice came from outside the door. "King, may I come in?" "Come in," Wu Ming said. Then, Wu Ming's door opened, and Erica walked in wearing a gorgeous princess dress. Erica then walked to Wu Ming and knelt on one knee before Wu Ming and said, "King, lunch is ready. Please eat." Wu Ming looked at the beautiful girl who called him king, when they just met and recalled what happened yesterday. After Wu Ming killed Welslana and Mekl, the storm stopped. As Wu Ming had already cast a large-scale idler dispersal spell when he came to Welslana and Mekl. There were no casualties in the battle between Wu Ming, Welslana, and Mekl. As for the destroyed land and buildings, Silent Wonder used magic tools to repair them. Wu Ming still remembered Erica's shocked expression when she saw Wu Ming take out all kinds of things from the golden ripples behind him. After everything was settled, Erica invited Wu Ming to the luxurious villa in a very respectful manner. Wu Ming knew that he had killed the god of disobedience and become a campoin. This news would definitely be known by others, so Wu Ming didn't hide it. Wu Ming couldn't make up his mind about Erica at first. After all, when Wu Ming, Welslana, and Mekl fought, Erica hid and watched the whole process. Erica still knew that Wu Ming was the god of disobedience. Wu Ming wasn't sure if Erica regarded him as the god of disobedience or the god slayer, but based on Erica's current behavior towards him, it should be the latter. Wu Ming said to Erica at that time, "I am the god of disobedience, and there will be disasters if you follow me. Even so, you still want to worship me as your king." Erica, on the other hand, knelt on one knee, looked up at Wu Ming with a smile, and said, "I discovered that someone set up a trap to disperse the idlers. I believe in my judgment. A demon king who thinks for the people is worthy of my service." Later, Wu Ming followed Erica's arrangement and came to a villa in Sardinia where Erica belonged. Erica was summoned by her superior organization. Until the next day, Wu Ming didn't see Erica until he got up and had breakfast. Until lunch, that is now. "What did the other magicians say?" Wu Ming asked suddenly. Erica's body trembled, and then she looked at Wu Ming. Everyone confirmed the birth of the 7th god slayer through other god slayers, and they unanimously decided to worship you as their king. Erica said. "That's right, Erica has been missing for so long because she received a message from her superior organization, Black Cross, and was recalled to the headquarters." Looking at Erica, who was a little nervous, Wu Ming said, "Let's eat first." "Yes." Chapter 161. Wu Ming followed Erica to the mansion's dining room. After a simple lunch, Erica said to Wu Ming, "Your Majesty, there's something I need to trouble you with." Looking at Erica kneeling on one knee and lowering her head, Wu Ming walked to Erica and held her shoulder. "I don't need to bow and scrape, and there's no need to call me Your Majesty, just call me Wu Ming." "Yes, Lord Wu Ming." As a king, Wu Ming's words were irrefutable. Erica accepted Wu Ming's order. Wu Ming looked at Erica and continued to ask, "So what's the matter, Erica?" Erica stood up and said to Wu Ming, "Here's the thing, the general of the magic organization I belong to, Red Copper Black Cross, wants to meet you with the higher-ups." Wu Ming immediately said impatiently, "If it's the general it's okay, but the others don't." Ha! Erica didn't expect Wu Ming to refuse so quickly. "I know the general of Red Copper Black Cross. That's your uncle, Paul Brantley, right? I've seen his deeds from the information you provided." Wu Ming was not idle these days. He asked Erica to provide him with the information about European magic. Erica naturally found a lot of information and put it all in the study room, and all the information was recorded by Collis. Then Wu Ming continued. "Forget about the others, it's nothing more than seeing my power. This kind of thing is fine. Even if you don't recognize me, it doesn't matter." Wu Ming said casually. "Your Majesty, please think twice, if they don't see you, they won't feel at ease," Erica said. Looking at Erica, who knelt on one knee again, Wu Ming stroked his forehead helplessly. All right, I got it. Let's just meet. Also, didn't I say that you can just call me by my name?
Yes, Wuming-sama.
Later, Wuming followed Erica to a sparsely populated place in Sardinia. Then, a few figures walked out. The leader of the group was an uncle full of youthful vitality. His upright face and intellectual temperament made Wuming take a second look at him. Nice to meet you, King of Disobedience. I'm Paul Brantley, the General of Red Copper Black Cross.
Paul bowed and said respectfully,
Hello, Mr. Paul. Since you call me King of Disobedience, you must know my identity. Wuming said casually with his hands in his trousers pockets. Of course, Your Majesty. Please don't blame Erica. This has nothing to do with Erica. This is because the Magic Association detected 3 types of divine power when we examined the battlefield between you and Welslana and Meckel. Based on Erica's partial report, we determined that you are a disobedient person. Paul said.
Wuming thought about it. When he was judged as the god of disobedience by this world, the magic power he produced would also be judged by this world and transformed into the divine power of this god of disobedience.
Therefore, in such a fierce battle, there were only 3 types of divine power left at the scene, and the European Magic Association judged Wuming as the god of disobedience. Then do you trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I will kill all of you? Instantly, Wuming showed a dangerous expression. The figures behind Paul took 2 steps back in panic. But Paul and Erica were calm. I heard from Erica that before you fought with Welslana and Meckel, you had set up a dispersal system. I believe that such a god is worthy of our support. Paul looked at Wuming's eyes, and his eyes were quite firm. Just like that, no one said anything, and the atmosphere gradually became anxious. Suddenly, Wuming smiled. Ha ha ha, as expected of the highest knight with the title of Diable Rouge. Wuming said. I've already returned that title to Red Copper Black Cross because of my role as the Commander-in-Chief. Now, the title of Diable Rouge is held by Erica. Paul said. Erica is a very good knight. Although she is not strong enough, her courage to face the god of disobedience for the people is commendable.
Wuming said, then looked at Erica.
Thank you for the compliment, Your Majesty. Erica saluted slightly. To hear you say that, Erica is worthy of her efforts over the years. Paul said. So, do you want to see my power? Wuming raised a hand and clenched it into a fist. This question. Paul was a little distressed. What's wrong? What happened? Wuming asked. Actually, another king is coming this way. Paul said with some distress. Wuming instantly knew what Paul was worried about. The God Slayers were a group of eccentric guys, and because of that, people would serve them as kings. The purpose was to restrict the king's actions. After all, every king was a super bomb that exploded at random times. Every time a king was involved in something, it would cause large-scale catastrophic damage. Not to mention the direct economic losses caused, these magicians also needed to work hard to cover up the truth in the damaged areas.
Then I can meet the senior,
Wuming said with a smile. Erica and others looked at Wuming with a sure enough, he's troublesome look. Then Wuming raised a hand and stretched it forward. Golden ripples appeared, and Wuming took out a golden scepter from it.
Wuming held the staff of Ain's Ergong in his hand and gently tapped the ground with the bottom of the scepter.
In an instant, the scene in front of everyone changed, and the surroundings became similar to the Roman Colosseum. Looking at the venue that was a little larger than the Roman Colosseum and the stars hanging in the sky, everyone was shocked. This is an independent space? And it's a real space. Is this the power of Welslana and Meckel? No, I'm afraid it's the power of the king as the god of disobedience. But can the god of disobedience really obtain the power of other gods? Maybe it's the ability of the king as the god of disobedience. After all, the other god slayers have also admitted that a new compatriot has been born. Listening to the whispers of the people behind Paul, Wuming didn't want to explain anything. He couldn't say that he wasn't from this world, but he was judged as the god of disobedience by the world when he came to this world. If you want to fight, I will come here with the king. How about it? Wuming asked. As you wish, king. Paul bowed to Wuming. Chapter 162. Wuming cancelled the inherent enchantment. After leaving the 6th floor of Nazalik, everyone once again returned to the deserted wasteland.
Yo, you are the strange god slayer.
Suddenly, a young man's voice came.
Everyone looked at the source of the voice, and a young man stood there with a long tube on his back. This is Italy's King of Swords, Salvatore Anthony. Erica was afraid that Wu Ming did not know the king, so she deliberately stood behind Wu Ming and quietly told Wu Ming. Wu Ming turned his head and looked at Erica. "You are quite loyal," Wu Ming teased. After all, Erica had just joined Wu Ming, and she began to think about Wu Ming. "Of course, after all, I chose to be loyal to you," Erica said with a smile. "Then you will not be disappointed." Wu Ming raised an unruly smile again. "Minister Salvatore, you are here." Led by Paul, the people of Black Cross and Red Cross greeted Salvatore Anthony. "Well, I heard that a compatriot was born here, and it is a compatriot transformed from the god of disobedience, so I hurried over to take a look." Although he said that he came over to take a look, Salvatore's eyes were burning with fighting spirit. "So, the king of disobedience is you?" Salvatore looked at Wu Ming again. "Yes, it's me." "Why? Do you want to fight?" Wu Ming said directly as soon as he came up. Wu Ming saw that Salvatore seemed to be a rather casual person. To put it simply, Salvatore was a fool. Wait a minute, the king of disobedience, didn't you say?" A senior executive behind Paul said nervously. Wu Ming turned his head and glanced at the man. "Feng Exen, I won't fight here." With that said, the staff of Anzavulgan in his hand tapped the ground again. Ripples of energy spread out in all directions, instantly enveloping the few people present. The scene changed, and several people appeared in the arena that they had just come to. "Oh! Is this your authority?" "It's amazing!" Salvatore said excitedly. Wu Ming placed the staff of Anzi-Urgan into the golden ripples that appeared behind him and said to Salvatore, "This is the place where I used to live. How is it? Not bad, right?" "It's more than that. It's so cool!" Salvatore shouted. "It's not just here. There's a vast forest outside. If it's not enough, we can go outside," Wu Ming said as he pointed at the door at the edge of the arena. "No, this is enough." With that, Salvatore took out a sword from the long tube behind him. Wu Ming gestured for Erica to bring the others to the auditorium. For a moment, only Wu Ming and Salvatore were left in the huge arena. Wu Ming looked at Salvatore, who was holding the sword, and looked at it carefully. This was a knight's sword without any special characteristics, but Wu Ming could feel pressure from it. "So, let's get started." As Wu Ming's words fell, Salvatore activated the power of the word spirit. "Swear the oath here. I won't allow anything that I can't cut to exist. And this sword is an invincible blade that can cut and cut everything on the ground." In an instant, Salvatore's arm turned into a silver metal arm. At this time, even Wu Ming felt a great sense of crisis. "You must not be cut." This was Wu Ming's instinctive thought. "I am the strongest. I will capture all the victors. Humans and demons. All enemies. I will defeat all hostile people. That is why I shall destroy all enemies that stand in my way." Wu Ming also chanted the words of the authority activation. "It's time. Wu Ming." After speaking, Salvatore instantly rushed at Wu Ming and slashed with his sword. Wu Ming quickly moved his body and dodged the blow. Boom! The ground was instantly cut like tofu. "I am the strongest, and I hold all the victories in my hands. Be it human or demon. I'm the one who will defeat any enemy that stands in my way. I will destroy any enemy that stands in my way. Giant with supreme divine power. Give me your help." The long pointer on the slate in Wu Ming's heart pointed to the 2 o'clock direction, and the slate depicting the giant that supported the sky glowed. As the giant spirit chanted, Wu Ming's body was covered with a golden phantom. As if he had tens of thousands of tons of divine power, Wu Ming suddenly punched at Salvatore. Boom! Salvatore dodged the punch and hit the ground of the arena. Gravel splashed, and the ground of the entire arena was instantly smashed into a spider web. "What an outstanding power!" Paul exclaimed in the audience. "This is Sir Wu Ming's giant incarnation. It is the result of the combination of Welaslana's authority and Mecker's authority," Erica explained. Knowing that there would be an official magic association to name the Godslayer's authority, Wu Ming had already told Erica the name of his authority. Wu Ming didn't want to get any strange names. "Hey! If this hits me, it's not a joke." Despite saying so, Salvatore smiled. "Your sword is not a joke either," Wu Ming replied. At this moment, Wu Ming had an excited smile on his face.
Wu-ming now knew why the God-slayer was called the Demon King and the Problem Child. Although the God-slayer was still human, its essence had changed. It was like a beast. Even the most gentle God-slayer would fight. Once the battle started, the God-slayer would ignore the surroundings and act completely according to his heart. With such a time bomb, it was no wonder that the magicians were in awe of the God-slayer. Although Wu-ming's root dragon bloodline would not be affected, these authorities had been transformed by Wu-ming into the accompanying noble phantoms. Therefore, Wu-ming was also affected. Continue, Salvatore. The short needle on Wu-ming's inner stone plate pointed in the direction of 10 o'clock. Be afraid of those with wings. Evil people and powerful people are afraid of me with wings. My wings will bring you a curse. Evil people can't hit me. After chanting the words again, Wu-ming's figure disappeared in an instant. Wu-ming appeared above Salvatore in an instant and gave him a punch. What? Salvatore spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was pressed to the ground by Wu-ming. Wu-ming frowned slightly and moved his somewhat uncomfortable body. It seems that the power of the phoenix is not as simple as acceleration. After all, for Wu-ming, a simple acceleration could not make his strengthened body feel uncomfortable. Afterward, Wu-ming looked at Salvatore, who had spat out a lot of blood, and asked, "So do you want to continue, King of Swords?" Chapter 163. The next day, Wu-ming started breakfast under Erica's greeting. Because of Wu-ming's special permission, and Erica was not a superficial person, the two naturally ate at the same table. Then, because of the strange atmosphere, Wu-ming couldn't help but ask, "Erica, why are you looking at me all the time?" Wu-ming looked at Erica's sapphire-like pupils. "I can't help it. Although I also thought that you, Wu-ming, could defeat Salvatore, I didn't expect you to defeat him so easily and even knock him unconscious." Wu-ming couldn't help but remember how Wu-ming knocked down Salvatore with Giant and Phoenix yesterday. After Wu-ming asked, "Do you want to continue?" Wu-ming found that Salvatore had fainted. After all, Wu-ming could launch an attack from above. It could be said that he hit Salvatore's head directly. Even the God-slayer could not remain conscious after being hit in the head with tens of thousands of tons of force. Wu-ming lifted the inherent enchantment, and then a person who claimed to be Salvatore's attendant appeared. Erica told Wu-ming that this was Andre Rivera, Salvatore's confidant. He had the power of a Grand Knight and was the only existence who could rebuke Salvatore. In the information provided by Erica, Salvatore had the title of Deacon Wong in the industry. It could be said that without Andre, Salvatore could only be a warrior instead of the leader of the Southern European Magic Association Alliance. After Andre left the words, "Sorry to bother you, King of Disobedience. He will be fine in 2 days. Don't worry." Andre took Salvatore away. Shaking his head, Wu-ming looked at Erica, who was still looking at him. "You seem to think that I defeated Salvatore very easily, but it's not that simple." Wu-ming put down the knife and fork and wiped the corners of his mouth. "The reason why I can easily defeat Salvatore is that the other party doesn't know my authority, and the other is that I directly knocked him out." "Well, actually the latter part was the main point. But you did win the battle with Salvatore," Erica said with a smile. "People often don't care about the process, but the result. What's more, the competition before the God Slayers. Please remember this, Lord Wu-ming." Erica was right. Wu-ming also knew that sometimes the result was often more important than the process, but it did not mean that he could be arrogant just because he won against Salvatore. The point is to take him by surprise. There is nothing to say. If Salvatore is prepared, then it will not be so easy to win next time. After that, Wu-ming stood up and walked towards the door. Wu-ming opened the door. "I'm going out to study authority for a bit. I'll be back in the afternoon." With that, the sound of the door closing could be heard. Wu-ming took out the staff of Ain's Ergong and entered the enchantment. "Lord Wu-ming." As soon as Wu-ming entered, he saw Satya and Seabass kneeling on one knee to salute him. "Aha," Wu-ming replied. Now, Wu-ming had seen through it. These guardians were loyal to him. Only Demiurgos and Yair Abed could be flexible and would no longer kneel to Wu-ming. Of course, that was only in informal situations. "I need to test my newly acquired power. Prepare in the arena on the 6th floor." "Yes, Lord Wu-ming." Because of the enchantment, Only Satya and Seabass, who followed Wuming, were here, so some work could only be left to them. Soon, Wuming came to the arena. I am the strongest, the one who holds all victory in my hands. No matter if it's a human or a demon, I will defeat any enemy that stands in my way. Giant with unparalleled divine power, give me your aid. As the words were spoken, the long needle on the stone plate of authority pointed at 2 o'clock. Instantly, Wuming's surroundings changed. A large amount of golden energy continuously surged out of Wuming's body, forming a tall energy giant. The appearance of the energy giant could not be seen clearly, as if it had been pixelated. The giant's muscles were ligated, and only the lower half of its body was covered by a golden energy battle skirt. The rest of its body was naked. Wuming floated in the head of the energy giant and looked down. So that's how to use the giant incarnation. Then Wuming continued to chant. All evildoers, be afraid of my power. Now, I will have the majesty of 10 mountains, the power of 100 rivers, and the strength of 1,000 dragons. The majestic me will raise the mock of a fierce dragon. The short needle on the stone plate pointed at 1 o'clock. Instantly, the golden energy giant that enveloped Wuming changed. A long dragon tail grew out from behind him, and golden energy dragon scales were densely arranged on the giant's naked skin. His hands and feet became fierce and sharp, and his face that couldn't be seen clearly instantly became real, like a dragon's head, with a pair of fierce dragon horns growing out of his head. At this moment, the golden energy giant had completely turned into a golden energy dragon man. Wuming tested a few other authorities, and the results were different from what he knew. As expected, so the power of authority is not just that. Although these authorities have become my noble phantoms, I still can't completely control them. I still need to train. After all, this was a super high-level spell that Pandora and Epimetheus had set up that affected the whole world. If it was placed in the shape moon world, it could be said to be more powerful than magic. Wuming could not help but think of the night when he was called the God Slayer. After Wuming fell asleep, as if he was dreaming, Wuming came to a place that was completely white. Wuming took 2 steps and stopped. Master Wuming, someone used an unknown great spell to bring your spirit to this place. Collis was a noble phantasm that was connected to Wuming's soul, so naturally, she could come with Wuming. If you want to play tricks, don't blame me for not holding back. Wuming said to the air around him. Wah, don't hit me. Suddenly, a seductive female voice was heard. Wuming turned his head and saw a cute loli with a child's face and body. Her purple waist-length hair was tied into 2 ponytails with a white hairband behind her back. The accessories on her ears were slightly large purple ball-shaped pendants. Although she did not have a figure at all, she was still wearing a thin white low-cut dress. Even so, she was still very seductive. Wuming had never seen a woman with such charm. Wuming guessed that other than Ishtar whom he met at Mount Abiff, no one else could be compared to her. Come, little Wuming, I'm your mother. The little loli opened her arms and hugged Wuming. No. Wuming pushed her head away. Because of her figure, the little loli's hands could not touch Wuming's body. Then, the little loli looked at Wuming with a heartbroken expression. I'm so sad that you treat your mother like this. Sob, sob. Wuming was a little helpless. If you want to sob, you don't have to say it out loud. Then, little Wuming, can you call me mother? The little loli looked at Wuming with an expectant expression. Wuming did not care about the topic and asked directly, Who are you? Chapter 164. At this time, the purple-haired little loli also became serious. I'm Pandora. Pandora. Wuming said while rubbing his chin. Let's just say that Wuming's Nathalikri's Pandora had nothing to do with this. Wuming naturally knew of Pandora, who asked Pandora to be so famous. In Greek mythology, in order to punish the humans who were given fire by Prometheus, the god specifically ordered Hephaestus, the god of fire, to use the goddess as the foundation of water and earth to create a beautiful woman. This woman's name was Pandora. Every god gave Pandora something, causing Pandora to become a perfect woman. The gods married her to Epimetheus, the younger brother of Prometheus. Then, the gods gave Pandora a box. Driven by curiosity, Pandora opened Pandora's box, which released disasters, plagues, and scourges. Although Pandora closed the box in time, the disasters, plagues, and scourges had already escaped. Only the hope given by Athena remained. Then, what were your thoughts when you created the god-slayer Pandora? Wu Ming looked at Pandora fiercely and directly began to question Pandora. Pandora was stunned for a moment, then her eyes turned red, tears flowed down, and she began to cry. Wah! Looking at Pandora who began to cry, Wu Ming was a little panicked. Wu Ming wanted to directly question Pandora, but Wu Ming did not expect Pandora to cry like this. Wu Ming, who had never made a girl cry, was at a loss. Then, Wu Ming could only copy the way he comforted Mei Yu, hugging Pandora in his arms and stroking her head. Sorry, I was too serious. I apologize. Please forgive me. Wu Ming looked at Pandora rather sincerely. Pandora also looked at Wu Ming with tears in her eyes. Then Pandora somewhat choked and asked, Really? Yes, I'm sorry, it's my fault, please forgive me. Wu Ming hurriedly apologized again. Then, Pandora wiped her tears and looked at Wu Ming with red and swollen eyes. Then, can you call me Mom? Wu Ming now felt speechless. In the end, Wu Ming compromised. Sister Pandora. Although Pandora was still a little dissatisfied, Wu Ming still said firmly, just call me sister, if you can't then forget it. All right then, Pandora said. Then, Pandora hugged Wu Ming happily and said, little brother is brother, it's my first time. Listening to this incomparably cheerful voice, Wu Ming was a little speechless. He wondered if Pandora's crying just now was an act. Okay, Pandora, it's time to answer my question. Wu Ming patted Pandora's back and said, Yes, what question? Pandora let go of Wu Ming with a happy face. What exactly is a god slayer? Why can I, a person who is not from this world, obtain authority? What is the use of authority? The god slayer is the product of a worldwide curse that Epimetheus and I created together. It is a guardian to help humans through difficult times. Pandora replied. And the reason you can obtain omnipotence is because I want you to become a god slayer. It's that simple. As for authority, this needs to be judged and used by yourself. Besides, the god slayer is an existence that can automatically increase power, so, authority is slowly grasped. Pandora's face was full of joy as she spoke while swaying left and right. After becoming a god slayer, not only will you be immune to attacks below the god level, but you will also have the benefit of automatically increasing your strength. As long as you fight, your strength will rapidly increase. Then, Pandora touched Wu Ming's cheek and said, as long as you fight, you will definitely become stronger. Even an ordinary person without any fighting strength will have the will to fight the moment they become a god slayer. You have to cherish this authority well. In order to instill the power of the god slayer into you, I spent a lot of effort. Then, Wu Ming's consciousness was sent back to his body. Until now. Wu Ming removed the authority, and the light of the stone plate dimmed. What an irresponsible sister. I haven't finished asking. Then, Wu Ming looked at Sebastian and Xaxia standing beside him and said, You have adapted to the authority. I've more or less adapted to my authority. Sebastian, Xaxia, come with me. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. In the outside world, Wu Ming suddenly appeared somewhere with Sebastian and Xaxia. Xaxia, Wu Ming suddenly said. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Xaxia walked to Wu Ming's side with a charming expression. I have a mission for you, Wu Ming said to Xaxia. Then, Wu Ming had Xaxia lean over, and Wu Ming read the mission to her. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. This subordinate will not let you down. Because Wu Ming's breath touched Xaxia's ear when he spoke, her face was flushed, and she spoke with a trembling voice like a young girl in love. Wu Ming smiled helplessly. I thought that after the sublimation of her origin, Xaxia wouldn't be so. Her personality wouldn't change. Remember, don't kill anyone if you can. Although your weakness has been uprooted, it's still best not to cause trouble. Yes, I understand, Lord Wu Ming. Xaxia bowed, then turned into a black shadow and left. Sebastian. Wu Ming looked at Sebastian. Here. Sebastian placed his right hand on his heart and bowed to Wu Ming. Stay by my side and be my butler. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Although Xaxia and Sebastian had undergone the baptism of their origin, they did not seem to have changed at all. Xaxia was still wearing her purplish-black princess dress with a cake-like hem. Sebastian was still wearing his black butler suit. It could be said that neither of them had changed in terms of appearance or temperament. However, Wu Ming knew very well that the two of them could no longer be compared to their previous selves. It could be said that Xaxia and Sebastian were the strongest people in Nasalic apart from Wu Ming. Even the uncontrollable hidden trump card of Nasalic, libido, might not be able to defeat Xaxia and Sebastian. That's all for now. I'll bring you to meet my new subordinate. Then, Wu Ming brought Sebastian to the villa provided by Erica. As soon as he pushed open the door, Wu Ming heard an extremely pleasant voice. Chapter 165. Wu Ming pushed the door open and entered. What he saw was Erica entertaining an exceptionally beautiful girl. The girl looked about 20 years old. She had long golden wavy hair shining with brilliance. She looked very beautiful, and her skin was white and delicate. Her clothes were matched with a white coat, a short knitted dress and pants under the coat, and black boots. You must be the seventh god slayer, Sir Wu Ming. I am Alice Louise of Nafar. Nice to meet you, Sir Wu Ming. Alice spoke in a calm tone. Coupled with Alice's perfume-like noble temperament, Wu Ming couldn't help but take a second look. Ahem, Sir Wu Ming, it's almost time for you to answer Princess Alice's question, Erica said with some displeasure. After all, such a great beauty is in front of you every day, but you choose to look at someone else, although that person is indeed beautiful. I see. It's nice to meet you, Your Royal Highness Princess Alice. Wu Ming said with an elegant aristocrat's salute. In the information provided by Erica, there was this Princess Alice. Duke Godding's daughter, known as Princess Alice to the outside world, became the Speaker of the Sage Council of Greenwich at the age of 16. Now, she stepped down from the position of the Speaker of the Sage Council of Greenwich and was the current special advisor. Because of her extremely high magic talent, she was also known as the White Witch G. Speaking of this White Witch G, she was amazing. She was a genius girl who could fight the God Slayer with wisdom and courage. The British God Slayer, Alexander Gascoigne, was known as the son of the Black Prince Yarek. The Black Prince was once driven out of the United Kingdom by the White Witch G, Princess Alice, and Erica's uncle, Paul Brantley. Because his authority was inclined to support and character, the Black Prince did not entangle too much with Alice and Paul but chose to retreat. Not only did this bring benefits to Alice, but it also gave Paul, a Grand Knight, an unsurpassable reputation. The story of the Witch G and the Grand Knight working together to fight against the God Slayer and successfully driving him away was widely known by magicians. It was also because of this that Alice was called the Princess and Paul became the commander of the Black Cross. As a God Slayer himself, Wu Ming naturally knew how terrifying a God Slayer was. Even if the Black Prince Yarek, the God Slayer, didn't have a strong combat ability, he shouldn't be underestimated. Moreover, it was mainly Alice's wisdom that played a role. Paul was only a supporting force. To be able to use her wits and the power of a Grand Knight to chase away a God Slayer was already a testament to Alice's shocking intelligence. Coupled with her heaven-shaking beauty, Wu Ming couldn't help but look at her in a new light. So, what is Princess Alice doing here? Wu Ming began to ask Alice, going straight to the point. At this point, Alice felt a little awkward. Actually, I'm here to stop your duel with the Sword King. Alice received news that the seventh king had been born in Italy. Soon after, Alice received news that the Sword King was on his way to Italy. Moreover, the seventh king still stayed in Italy and did not leave. Alice, who had super high wisdom, immediately figured out why the other party was in a hurry to Italy. With Alice's understanding of the stupid Sword King, he must have gone to spar with the new king. Moreover, when Alice was about to use Ghost Body to go to Italy, she was discovered by her housekeeper and nanny, Erickson. So, under Erickson's strong opposition and physical control, Alice was kept in the United Kingdom. Although it's a little late, I still want to thank you for not causing irreparable damage to the surroundings because of your duel with Salvatore. Alice said with a slight smile. The news that the King of Disobedience Wu Ming and the Sword King Salvatore Tony had a duel in the King of Disobedience's own barrier and one spread like wildfire. The news was spread by the magicians of the Black Cross, and it seemed that the Sword King also intended to do so. In short, because of the indulgent behavior of the Sword King, magicians all over the world knew that the new king defeated the Sword King. This made Princess Alice, who had just arrived in Italy and Europe from the United Kingdom, very helpless. With the idea that she had already come out, in fact,
She was tired of staying at home. And Alice also wanted to see the new king, so the scene of Erica entertaining Princess Alice appeared. Sitting on the sofa, Wu Ming couldn't help laughing and said, "So, our famous Princess Alice just got tired of staying at home and ran away from home?" "No. I didn't run away from home. It's just that Erickson is too strict and keeps me in the house," Alice said with a little blush. In this regard, Wu Ming just smiled. "Well, since you are out, please enjoy the outside world. I will let Erica follow you," Wu Ming said. Erica asked Wu Ming in confusion. "Then, may I ask who this old man is, Wu Ming?" In these days of living with Wu Ming, Erica had almost figured out Wu Ming. It could be said that if she wasn't very sure that Wu Ming was indeed a godslayer, Erica wouldn't believe that the new king had such a good temper. The new king didn't mind at all if she called him by his name. Hearing Erica ask about Sebastian, Wu Ming began to introduce him. "This is my butler, Sebastian Dean." Then there was a moment of silence. "And?" Erica asked helplessly. That wasn't what she wanted to know. Alice also had a curious look on her face. "If I have to say, Sebastian is my power," Wu Ming said. Wu Ming waved at Sebastian, motioning for him to say a few words. "Greetings, ladies. I am Lord Wu Ming's butler, Sebastian. Please advise me." Sebastian put his right hand on his heart, and his left hand was close to his trousers, and bowed slightly with a serious face. "Speaking of which, I remember that one also has this kind of tamed monster power," Alice suddenly said. "You must be referring to the Queen of the Faceless, the daughter of the Black Prince Yarek," Erica said. Wu Ming also remembered the power recorded in Black Prince Yarek's information. The ability to summon Melusan, the legendary two-tailed mermaid and half-human half-snake goddess, as a tamed monster. The summoned Melusan had her own consciousness because of the goddess herself, so she had high wisdom. That was undoubtedly what Sebastian wanted. Chapter 166. Thinking of this, Wu Ming shook his head and said, "Even so, Sebastian is not a familiar." After looking at Erica, Wu Ming looked at Alice and continued. "In terms of strength alone, Sebastian is almost comparable to any of the godslayers." As soon as these words came out, Erica and Alice were a little surprised. The reason why the godslayers were called godslayers was that in addition to having the authority to kill the god of death, they also had a super high level of physical defense. The godslayer had a magic immune body that was immune to divine attacks, and the body of the godslayer also had super high endurance in terms of defense against physical damage. At the very least, they would not be injured under a series of conditions that were fatal to humans, such as being stabbed with a knife and jumping down from a high-rise building. As for large-caliber sniper rifles, it was hard to say. After all, no one dared to use a sniper rifle to experiment on the godslayer, and the magicians disdained and dared not use sniper rifles on the godslayer. In case the godslayer did not die, then they would face a punishment more terrifying than the catastrophe and the god of disobedience. No country or organization would be able to bear such a burden. When the Far East Island invaded China in the mid-19th century, they contradicted the second godslayer, the Wuxia king of China, Luo Hao. As a result, the Wuxia king single-handedly attacked their home base, grabbed their official government leaders, and directly caused the failure of the invasion war. At that time they used the top magic weapons at that time, and the power of the entire country could not stop a godslayer. Since then, no one had underestimated the godslayer. Even the kindest Madame Aisha, who did not want to fight, could not be underestimated. This was because the godslayer had the power to cause trouble. Once he caused trouble, it would be as troublesome as several godslayers combined. Alice and Paul could join forces to repel the godslayer, Black Prince Yarek. Firstly, the series of events that Black Prince Yarek had done were too excessive, causing the dissatisfaction of almost all the magicians in Europe. Secondly, Yarek claimed that he was different from other godslayers and was a person who fought with his brain. In addition, he lost to Alice in wisdom, which led to Black Prince Yarek's departure. It could be said that if Yarek really wanted to deal with Alice and the others, he would do it even if it was troublesome. It could only be said that Alice had already figured out the Black Prince's personality. She knew that if she could outsmart him, he would not continue to pester her for the sake of his dignity. If it had been any other godslayer, they would have charged at Alice with their own power, even if they had lost in terms of intelligence. So Wu Ming, you are exaggerating. Sebastian bowed to Wu Ming. Wu Ming had told Sebastian about this world when they were practicing their authority in the underground tomb of Nasaric. So Sebastian knew about the god of disobedience and the god slayer in this world. Don't underestimate yourself, Sebastian. Wu Ming looked at the humble Sebastian and continued, You should know that you are now my subordinate god. Even if you can't defeat me, you might still be able to win against someone who can't restrain you. Wu Ming was right. After the baptism of origin, Sebastian could now become a dragon. Not only that, but he was also a dragon close to Wu Ming, which contained a trace of the power of origin. As long as it was not the kind of authority that could slay a dragon, basically no one could kill Sebastian, who had a strong body. Speaking of dragon attributes, Wu Ming's attributes had to be talked about. Without the dragon attribute added by the servant, Wu Ming's origin dragon bloodline was no longer a dragon attribute. The origin dragon was just an addition of the word dragon to its appearance and name. As a creature born from the world's origin, how could there be any power that could restrain it? Therefore, the origin dragon itself was Wu Ming's greatest advantage. A strong body that surpassed everything else, adaptability from all time and space, and no creature or device that could restrain it. If one had to say, the black mud with the smell of Wu Ming's hometown that restrained Wu Ming was the weapon that restrained Wu Ming. You're right, Lord Wu Ming. I was stupid, Sebastian said. Wu Ming waved his hand and said, It's not your fault. After all, you just obtained this power. You can feel it after using it once. Forget it, Sebastian. Go and prepare dinner, Wu Ming said with a headache. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Sebastian left. Then, Wu Ming looked at Alice and Erica with a look of disdain. This is really troublesome. Anyway, you can think of Sebastian's origin however you want. You can think of him as my subordinate god or as my power. That's it, Wu Ming said with a little temper. Then, he leaned back on the sofa. Erica and Alice looked at each other, and then they both smiled. You're really like a child, Wu Ming, Erica teased. I didn't expect Lord Wu Ming to have such a cute side, Alice said. Because Alice and Erica were old friends, Erica had told Alice about Wu Ming's easygoing personality, which was why Alice was so presumptuous. Wu Ming looked at the two of them with dead fish eyes. Since he stopped using the body of a servant, Wu Ming's temperament had changed back to that of a teenager. Even though he had been active in Connaught, Britain, and Uruk for nearly 50 years, Wu Ming still had the mentality of a teenager. Actually, if one really had to say, Wu Ming could be considered a problem child. His time as a servant was only slightly affected by his rank and origin at that time. By the way, Alice, you should have other purposes for coming to me, right? Wu Ming ignored the two's teasing and suddenly changed the topic. Alice and Erica also stopped teasing. Then Alice said to Wu Ming, Sama, do you know about Gorgon's stone? Gorgon's stone? Wu Ming muttered. Then Wu Ming asked, Is it the Gorgon in Greek mythology? Yes, Alice said, then looked at Erica, motioning Erica to answer for her. Erica nodded and said, This is the case, Wu Ming. Alice once made a prophecy about Gorgon's stone, and the result was not good. When there is no moon and stars, darkness will cover the earth. At that time, human beings will not be able to survive, Erica said. Alice is a witch with the ability of spirit vision. Her prophecies have never failed. Wu Ming sneered at that. So, how about I break the prophecy this time? Chapter 167. Judging from the prophecy, this seems to be the power of the god of disobedience. There are only a few gods who are related to Gorgon's stone. Wu Ming held his chin with both hands as he looked at Alice and Erica. The main ones are the three Gorgon sisters, Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale. However, I don't think the three Gorgon sisters who've been belittled as monsters would have the desire to destroy the world. Subsequently, Wu Ming said casually, Anyway, give me the Gorgon stone now. I'll settle this. Alice and Erica looked at each other for a moment, then nodded. At night, Wu Ming was alone in his study room. His desk was filled with books, and the books on the bookshelf were different from before. Erica had replaced all the books here. They were all books about myths and legends. Meanwhile, the books on Wu Ming's desk were all about Gorgon. Wu Ming picked up the Gorgon stone in his hand and studied it carefully for a while. The Gorgon stone was an obsidian medal with a portrait of a Gorgon engraved on it. Wu-ming could not help but exclaim as he looked at the Gorgon's stone that looked like Medusa's head. This doesn't seem like an ordinary god relic. Wu-ming had seen a god relic once before he became a god slayer. It was the young man he had met when he first arrived in this world, the grassy guardian. The slate in his hand was a spellbook, which was a god relic. Wu-ming would not misjudge his senses after becoming a god slayer. Because of that, Wu-ming could clearly sense that the power contained in the Gorgon's stone was not as simple as it seemed. Just like the godhead of a god. Wu-ming said calmly. Wu-ming, who had the golden sword, could feel that the power of the Gorgon stone gave him the same feeling as when Wu-ming used the golden sword to cut through Welaslana's godhood. I wonder if the golden sword has any effect on the materialized divinity. Wu-ming stroked his chin and shook his head. I don't dare to do anything. Let's first record the knowledge about Gorgon. Then, Wu-ming picked up a book on the desk and opened it, saying, Please call us. Yes, Master. The dragon horn on Wu-ming's head flashed, and like a scanner, a golden light shone on the book in Wu-ming's hand. Almost a few seconds later, Collis put away the scanning ray. Master, do you want me to transfer the knowledge to you now? Collis asked. Just transfer it directly. After all, time is running out, Wu-ming said and then closed his eyes. After a few seconds, Wu-ming opened his eyes. No matter how I look at it, I feel that it's great to have you here, Collis. Wu-ming smiled. That's just because you're lazy, Master. Collis said with a helpless tone. After all, Wu-ming had a photographic memory now. However, with Collis here, why would Wu-ming waste time and effort to slowly read these myths by himself? Well, doesn't this show how important you are, my dear Collis? Hurry up and continue to the next book. Try to enter all the knowledge about Gorgon before you go to bed. Yes, yes. However, no matter how he listened to it, Wu-ming felt that Collis's voice had a hint of shyness. Wu-ming and Collis kept repeating the cycle of scanning, transferring knowledge, and receiving knowledge. The next day, Wu-ming, who was sitting at the dining table, yawned. Erica couldn't help but say, You didn't really read myths the whole night yesterday, did you? Erica couldn't help but think of what Wu-ming had said after his conversation with Alice and Erica the day before. Erica, please send the books about myths to my study. Gorgon first, please. Then, Erica complained and contacted the staff of the Black Cross. They removed the historical records and information about European magic in Wu-ming's study overnight and replaced them with books about myths. Of course, because there were more books, Erica put many books in other rooms, waiting for Wu-ming to finish reading the books in the study before replacing them. Although Erica complained when she contacted the Black Cross, the staff of the Black Cross, including its commander, Paul, said with a smile, Compared to the other Godslayers, Lord Wu-ming is really easy to serve. That's right, as long as he didn't cause trouble everywhere, not to mention all the books about myths. Even if Wu-ming wanted to be the commander of the Black Cross, Paul would agree unconditionally. When Wu-ming learned these words from Erica, Wu-ming's expression was quite strange. Wu-ming couldn't help but think, are the Godslayers such a headache for magician? Although it was hard to believe, the Godslayers were such a headache for others. No matter how honest Wu-ming was, no matter how much he didn't stir up trouble, no one would be able to put their hearts at ease. After all, among the 7 Godslayers, Madame Aisha, who was known as the one who didn't want to fight the most, also had the power of a natural disaster. If she was accidentally implicated, she would be even more terrifying than the oldest Godslayer, Marquis Waban. While eating, Wu-ming said to Erica, It's no big deal. I have Collis. I just stayed up for a short while yesterday. Wu-ming had long told Erica about Collis, so Wu-ming was not afraid that Erica didn't understand. But Alice, a young man who had just come into contact with Wu-ming, was quite interested in this Collis that Wu-ming mentioned. At this moment, the golden dragon horns on Wu-ming's head appeared, and he said, Actually, to put it bluntly, Master is just lazy in bed. That's where you're wrong. Wu-ming continued after eating a mouthful of rice. Now I realize that the bed is the greatest invention of mankind. Collis won't believe an excuse, Collis retorted. Alice watched the conversation between the master and servant with interest. She then asked Wu-ming, Master Wu-ming, do you think? Master Wu-ming, does Miss Collis belong to you as well? Wu-ming answered after taking a sip of milk, You can put it that way. You can think of Collis as a super high-level god relic that has its own consciousness. In reality, Wu-ming was right. Wasn't Collis,
who was connected to Wu Ming's soul and had become his relic, Wu Ming's authority? Since he was known as the god of disobedience, wasn't his tool a god relic? Master Wu Ming, you're such an interesting person. Alice smiled. It could not be helped. It was impossible for Wu Ming not to be special. After all, he was a god-slayer known as the god of disobedience. Chapter 168. Wu Ming separated from Erica and Alice after breakfast. Wu Ming asked Erica to take Alice around Italy, and Wu Ming specifically told Erica not to come to him. However, in order to make a fair deal, Erica asked Wu Ming, "Please don't involve the people." Wu Ming smiled helplessly. "Don't worry, I'm not one of those battle maniacs. When I fight, I forget about the surroundings. Besides, I have an inherent barrier, and I will put the battlefield inside the inherent barrier." Wu Ming still clearly remembered Erica's suspicious eyes. After that, Wu Ming came to a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. Crash, listening to the sound of the wind blowing the waves, Wu Ming couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Then, Wu Ming took out Gorgon's stone. Although I can seal Gorgon's stone with a sealing technique, it's better to solve it in one go. After that, Wu Ming stretched out his hand and chanted the spell, "Create great item, advanced item creation." With a condensation of magical particles, a lightning-shaped blue dagger appeared in Wu Ming's hand. That was Castor Media's noble artifact, Rulebreaker. Wu Ming gently touched Gorgon's stone with Rulebreaker. In an instant, the Banshee's eyes on Gorgon's stone glowed scarlet, and a powerful magical power burst out. "That's all right." Looking at Gorgon's stone, which had completely broken the seal, Rosin said. When Wu Ming got Gorgon's stone, there was a noble artifact seal set by Black Cross on it. Although the seal was broken, it still had some effect. At this moment, in order to avoid trouble, Wu Ming directly broke the seal. Wu Ming stretched out his hand again and took out Staff of Anziurgen from the golden ripple on his side. He put Staff of Anziurgen beside him, and Staff of Anziurgen automatically floated in the air, rotating slowly. "Next, we just have to wait," Wu Ming said, sitting cross-legged on the ground and closing his eyes. When it was almost night, Wu Ming felt that Gorgon's stone began to heat up, which was proof that its owner was about to arrive. Wu Ming opened his eyes and said, "Is it coming?" Wu Ming said as he watched the darkness engulf the island like a black cloud. "Is this the starless night?" Wu Ming broke the seal on Gorgon's stone in the morning. Although he didn't know why the other party chose to do it at night instead of during the day, Wu Ming could roughly guess. It should be a god related to darkness. Because Wu Ming was on a small island, there was no landing point other than where Wu Ming was, so Athena floated in the air. "So it's you, the strange person who has my snake," Athena said. Wu Ming looked at Athena and couldn't help but smile. She had the body of a primary school student, short silver hair, black snake-like vertical pupils, a white long-sleeved shirt and a yellow sleeveless sweater, a black short skirt, blue knee-length stockings, brown leather shoes, and a blue braided hat that looked like a beast's ear. No matter how Wu Ming looked at her, she looked like a cute primary school student. Of course, that was if she didn't have a huge amount of mana. "My name is Athena. You are both my compatriot and my natural enemy. Tell me your name." Athena's vertical pupils stared coldly at Wu Ming. "Just call me Wu Ming, Athena," Wu Ming said with a smile, and at the same time, he released his mana. "You're an interesting fellow. Even though I would like to know why you, who share the same origin as me, would become my enemy, I'll retreat for now since it's you," Athena said as she sensed something amiss the moment Wu Ming unleashed his magical powers. Then, the darkness around the island began to retreat, and Athena also left in another direction. "I will leave my snake with you for the time being, someone who shares the same origin." This made Wu Ming a little confused. "It can't be because of my identity as the god of disobedience in this world," Wu Ming said after thinking for a moment. Although Wu Ming was still Wu Ming was branded as the god of disobedience when he came to this world. Of course, this brand did not bind Wu Ming, it just gave him another identity. Wu Ming did not care at first. But now, it seemed that this identity of the god of disobedience was a little special. Even Athena knew about him. When Wu Ming released his mana, Wu Ming saw the expression on Athena's face. It was obviously a look of surprise when she saw someone familiar, or when she knew about Wu Ming's existence. Seriously, giving me such a headache every day. Gaia and Alea are like this. Even this world without any restraints is like this. Wu-Ming complained helplessly. Wu-Ming could not help but remember that Gaia and Alea created a historical story for Wu-Ming in order to make him a servant of the human faction. That history was not fake, but the restraints threw Wu-Ming into a historical story. To put it bluntly, it was just giving Wu-Ming another identity. Just like Wu-Ming in this world, a stone thrown into the lake would definitely cause the lake to change. Wu-Ming even suspected that this was a collusion between the worlds. Shaking his head, Wu-Ming did not think about it anymore. He put away the inherent barrier in the staff of Anzi-Wurgong that he had set up in the outside world. Wu-Ming instinctively opened a portal and walked in. In the villa, Erica and Alice sat on the sofa, drinking their respective drinks and chatting intermittently. It's already night time, and there's still no news of Lord Wu-Ming, Alice said worriedly. Wu-Ming should have moved the battlefield to his own barrier, and maybe he didn't come? Erica said. By the way, Erica, do you think Lord Wu-Ming can win? Alice asked. Erica did not care about this and said confidently, winning is not a problem. Alice was a little puzzled. Why is Erica so sure? Erica took a sip of coffee and said, that's because he's the king I have to serve. As a subordinate, how can I not believe in my master? Alice was a little unhappy. What a cunning answer. Then she said, by the way, Lord Wu-Ming is really miraculous. A disobedient god actually became a god-slayer. This is something that has never happened since ancient times. At this moment, Alice was suddenly stunned. Light flowed in her eyes as if she was playing something. Alice. Erica noticed that something was wrong with Alice. She quickly put down the coffee in her hand, stood up, and walked toward Alice. Could it be? Spirit vision has been triggered. Erica was indeed a genius of the Red Cross and Black Cross. She immediately noticed Alice's current state. At this moment, a black-purple portal opened, and Wu-Ming walked out of it. Chapter 169. Wu-Ming walked out of the portal and saw Erica standing next to Alice, who was in a daze. What's wrong with Alice? Wu-Ming asked Erica. Erica shook her head and said, she's fine. Alice merely triggered her spirit vision. Spirit vision had two modes, active and passive. The prophecy of the starless moon in Gorgon's stone was precisely what Alice had predicted by activating her spirit vision. Clearly, her spirit vision was passive this time. Wu-Ming walked to Erica's side. Looking at the dazed Alice, he mumbled, is there a new prophecy? It was also at this moment that Alice's eyes regained their luster. This meant that her spirit vision had ended. How is it, Alice? Did something new happen? Erica asked as she bent down in front of Alice as soon as it was over. Alice glanced at Erica, then looked at Wu-Ming. Lord Wu-Ming. Alice looked at Wu-Ming in a daze. Seeing that something was wrong with Alice, Wu-Ming hurriedly shouted, Alice! Alice! As if Wu-Ming had been awakened, Alice's body swayed violently. As if Wu-Ming had short-circuited, Alice's body became unstable as if she was about to disappear. Just as she was about to fall, Wu-Ming instantly appeared beside Alice and hugged her. Lord Wu-Ming, I'm sorry. It seems that I won't be able to tell you a new prophecy here, Alice said as she lay weakly in Wu-Ming's arms. Is it the side effect of spirit vision that's causing your spirit body to become unstable? Wu-Ming asked. Don't worry. After saying that, Wu-Ming closed his eyes. On the stone plate in his heart, the long needle instantly moved to the 12 o'clock position. It was a mage wearing a long robe whose face couldn't be seen clearly. The stone plate lit up. Then, Wu-Ming seemed to have obtained a supreme divine power. His body flashed with a golden light, and his eyes emitted a golden light. Like a big golden light bulb, Erica and Alice in Wu-Ming's arms couldn't help but squint their eyes. Is this Lord Wu-Ming's power? Alice, who was in Wu-Ming's arms, asked weakly. Yes, this is the mage's incarnation, which evolved from Wu-Ming's youth's incarnation. The young man's incarnation had a powerful power of speech, it could bless human beings, gain power from human beings, and it also had a very important thing, blessing. Naturally, the magician that evolved from the youth also had the ability to grant protection to others. It's coming, Alice. After saying that, Wu-Ming's face slowly moved towards Alice. Wait, no.
Wu-Ming-sama. Alice, who had never experienced such a thing, closed her eyes with a red face. Then, just when Alice thought that Wu-Ming was going to kiss her, there was nothing wrong with her lips, only her forehead. Alice opened her eyes and saw Wu-Ming's forehead tightly pressed against hers. Wu-Ming's big golden eyes looked at Alice with a hint of a smile. Alice was a little embarrassed, and her face instantly became more rosy. Focus, close your eyes. I'm going to give you a blessing. Wu-Ming reminded her. Yes, yes, Alice said with a red face. Then, Alice closed her eyes and began to receive Wu-Ming's blessing. A steady stream of huge magical power was transmitted to Alice's body through her forehead. In an instant, the magical power was transformed into vitality, replenishing Alice's weak body. Alice felt as if she was soaking in a hot spring. Her surroundings were filled with warmth, and gradually, Alice had the idea of falling asleep. After Wu-Ming felt that it was enough, his forehead left Alice's forehead and removed the mage's incarnation. Looking at Alice, who had a happy smile on her face and closed her eyes, Wu-Ming patted Alice's cheek and said, "Wake up, don't fall asleep." Alice suddenly opened her eyes, looked at Wu-Ming with some embarrassment, and said, "Sorry, Lord Wu-Ming, the feeling just now was too comfortable, and I accidentally indulged in it." Wu-Ming was a little curious, and then said, "Was it that comfortable?" After all, this was the first time Wu-Ming used the power of blessing on others, and he was not very familiar with it. Maybe my divine aura was mixed in. Wu-Ming thought so. Then Wu-Ming continued, "Because your body is not your real body now, I did not give you too much blessing. This blessing can last for about 7 days, and it can be said that there is no problem at all to maintain your ghost body." "Thank you very much, Lord Wu-Ming." Alice smiled sweetly and looked at Wu-Ming. Wu-Ming shook his head, indicating that there was no need to be so polite, and then continued, "In a few days I will go to England. At that time, I will personally add a longer blessing to your body. I believe that if this is the case, you should be able to use your own body to walk around, and you don't need the ghost body." Wu-Ming's words made Alice fall into deep thought. Being able to walk freely in various areas was something that Alice had never thought of. After all, Alice's body was weak because of the negative effects of her powerful talent. This was not a disease, and it was basically untreatable. Just as Wu-Ming looked at the pondering Alice, the person next to him was a little unhappy about being ignored. "I say, it's about time for you to let go," Erica said with a fake smile, but everyone could hear the anger in Alice's voice. At this moment, Wu-Ming and Alice realized that the two were still hugging each other. "Ah!" Alice screamed and quickly broke free from Wu-Ming's 2 big hands. Wu-Ming took the initiative to let go of Alice and smiled awkwardly. "Ahem, although Your Highness Alice's body is fine, your spirit hasn't fully recovered. Your Highness Alice, would you like to take a rest?" Erica said after coughing. Spirit vision consumed not only magic power but also the caster's spirit power. This was also the reason why many witches fainted after divination. It was because the things they prophesied were too huge. The huge here didn't refer to the body, but to the status. Wu-Ming also nodded in agreement, then looked at Alice. Alice shook her head and said, "I'm fine. I think it's better to tell Lord Wu-Ming the new prophecy as soon as possible. And after Lord Wu-Ming added a blessing to me, I feel unusually excited. I don't feel the fatigue from using spirit vision at all." With that, Alice jumped up and down like a little girl to show that she was completely fine. Seeing that Alice had said so, Wu-Ming and Erica didn't insist. Chapter 170. Alice, Wu-Ming, and Erica sat on the sofa together. Then, Yali Anna served drinks for the 3 of them. Wu-Ming and Erica both looked at Alice quietly, waiting for her to say the prophecy. The starless night was broken by the legendary dragon. The earth withered, the sea dried up, and the world fell into a dead silence. The divine saber and the holy sword collided, and the hero and the demon king confronted each other, Alice said. "I saw a brave man with a divine sword and a demon king with a holy sword in Japan. Every blow had supreme power. The sky was torn apart, the earth was torn apart, and the sea was burned to dry up." As if she had remembered the scene she saw in the prophecy, Alice's body trembled a little as she said. Wu-Ming grabbed Alice's hand. As if she had found a life-saving straw, Alice calmed down.
Don't think about that for now, Alice. You saw a scene that was too long in the timeline or too high level. It's not something you can bear right now, Wuming comforted her. Then, Wuming, Alice, and Erica began to think about the meaning of this paragraph. Let's see how the legendary dragon broke the starless night. The starless night should refer to Athena. Then, does this legendary dragon refer to Wuming? Erica said.
Wuming shook his head and said, Not necessarily.
Athena came today, but she might not have the confidence to attack me.
After I said something to Athena, she left on her own.
At this moment, Erica said excitedly, Wait! You didn't kill Athena? At first, when Wuming returned, Erica didn't ask him if he had killed Athena because of Alice. However, Erica still had confidence in Wuming, so she didn't ask again. Looking at the agitated Erica, Wuming smiled. Isn't that normal?
I'm not in urgent need of authority to increase my strength, and Athena shows no signs of declaring war on me.
Isn't this a good result? Wuming found that the power of Welslana and Mekl was enough for the time being.
It should be said that even if it was only Welslana's power, after being sublimated into Wuming's noble phantasm, Wuming could be regarded as an existence that could do whatever he wanted.
As such, there was no need to overly pursue power. Wuming was an origin dragon. As long as he was accelerated by external forces or waited until he reached adulthood, Wuming's power would naturally undergo a qualitative change. Pursuing power was nothing more than an act of Wuming to protect himself during his childhood. There was no need to overdo it. Erica sighed and said unhappily, Forget it. You're the king. You call the shots. Looking at the unhappy Erica, Wuming comforted her. Don't worry, Athena is now lacking a divine spark. Even if she stays on the ground, it won't affect time. Alice covered her mouth and laughed. Lord Wuming is really magnanimous. This is called confidence. Wuming shrugged. Ahem. So if the legendary dragon isn't Wuming, then who is it? Everyone pondered. The legendary dragon should be referring to myself. Breaking the starless night shouldn't be referring to what happened today. After all, Athena retreated of her own accord and didn't fight. At present, the Gorgon stone is still in my hands. The legendary dragon breaking the starless night is likely to happen in the future. Wuming thought. Let's not talk about this for now. Have you noticed that the demon king with the holy sword is likely to be the god slayer? Because his speculation was almost done, Wuming began to change the topic. According to the saying, the confrontation between the hero and the demon king, if the demon king refers to the god slayer, then the hero with the divine sword refers to the god of disobedience, Erica said. And the series of disasters mentioned later are likely to be caused by the descent of the god of disobedience, but it can't be ruled out that it was caused by the god slayer, Alice added. The problem now is the identity of the hero with the divine sword and the demon king with the holy sword. It's easy to find the god slayer with the holy sword. After all, there are only 7 god slayers. But it's hard to say about the god of disobedience with the divine sword. In the myths, there are many gods who use the divine sword as their weapon, Alice said with a headache. Everyone pondered. After a moment, Wuming spoke. Let's not think about this for now. We can't figure it out now. At worst, we'll just deal with it when it comes. Wuming. Lord Wuming. Erica and Alice grumbled. That's enough. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. If you keep thinking so hard, you'll grow old. As he spoke, Wuming stood up. In a few days, Erica and I will send you back to England. You can think about these things then. After that, Wuming left the living room. After Wuming left, Erica sighed. He really isn't worried at all. Erica didn't know whether to be happy or distressed. Should she be happy that her king was confident or distressed that she was too ambitious? Alice smiled faintly and said, Isn't this good? As a king you have to have confidence. This is also the charm of a king. That's because Your Highness Alice has a good mentality.
You're the Princess Alice who fought a battle of wits with Black Prince Yarek, and even drove him out of England in the end.
That's all thanks to the help of Miss Erica's uncle, Lord Paul, said Alice. You're too serious, Your Highness Alice. You'd better go and get some rest. After all, mental exhaustion can't be eliminated. Erica stood up and was about to send Alice back to her room. I know, Miss Erica. I'll go by myself. By the way, Lord Wuming is really outstanding. You must seize the opportunity. After teasing Erica, Alice walked up the stairs and toward her room. Erica blushed but didn't say anything. Seize the opportunity? On the other side, Wuming sat at his desk and picked up the book that recorded the myths again. It seems that I have to finish recording the myths as soon as possible, or the sword of spiritual speech will become useless, said Wuming. After learning that the god of disobedience who caused the starless night was Athena, Wuming had thought that he had to record the myths in his spare time. In this world where the god of disobedience often appeared, he couldn't do anything without a store of knowledge. Compared to other authorities, although the sword of spiritual speech hadn't been upgraded or enhanced, it was still Wuming's trump card. After all, this sword of spiritual speech was too unfair. As long as one knew the stories of the gods, they could seal the gods' abilities. The warrior authority, which had been upgraded to a noble artifact, could naturally be used on heroic spirit followers. It was a great weapon. How could he not cherish it? Chapter 171. After spending a few days with Wuming, he had almost recorded all the mythical stories provided by Erica's organization, the Black Cross. Of course, it was all thanks to Collis that he was able to complete it so quickly. Wuming lamented more than once about how right he had been to ask Zelik for the most advanced magic suit. This morning, Wuming, Erica, and Alice arrived at the Italian airport. Due to the fact that something so important had happened, Alice had to return to England. Wuming, on the other hand, had nothing else to do now. He was preparing to go to England with Alice and give her real body protection. Erica, on the other hand, was going to follow Wuming to England. What a joke! Even though Wuming was indeed much more harmless than the other godslayers, Erica was still worried about leaving Wuming alone somewhere else, so she naturally had to follow him. In fact, the reason why the Black Cross and Copper allowed Erica to become Wuming's follower and Wuming's knight was to monitor Wuming for fear that he would do something big. Even so, Wuming could still sense that Erica wasn't just monitoring him, but really wanted to become his knight. That was why Wuming kept her. As for why he didn't directly use teleportation magic, Wuming expressed his helplessness. The constitution of the Godslayers was to repel all magic spells below the divine level, be it beneficial or harmful. Although teleportation magic spells that entered the body could work, it was obvious that teleportation magic couldn't be carried out in the body. This also meant that teleportation magic couldn't work on Wuming. Wuming had used a portal before, but that was because the portal was a channel established in two places and didn't have any effect on Wuming's body, so it could be used. It could be considered a trick. However, Wuming hadn't been to England in this world, so he couldn't use the portal. As a last resort, the three of them could only take a plane to England at the airport. On the plane in the first-class cabin, Wuming complained, "I have to say, the Godslayer's physique is really troublesome sometimes." "Don't say that, Lord Wuming. Let's not talk about having a problematic physique. Even if it's something even worse, many people would still want to become Godslayers," Alice said with a smile. "Seriously, Wuming, you should be content. You're now one of the only 7 kings in the world," Erica complained. "That's true. Lord Wuming, you should be content." Alice and Erica both laughed. However, Wuming stared at Alice. What's wrong, Lord Wuming? Why are you looking at me like that?" Alice blushed a little, her hands clasped together awkwardly. "It's nothing. I just feel that Alice is really beautiful now." Wuming smiled. "Ha! Why do you say that, Lord Wuming?" Alice blushed slightly as she spoke with some shyness. "Because you're very similar to a friend of mine," Wuming said. "Rather than a friend, she's more like a confidant. Her smile is very beautiful. Every time I see her smiling face, my heart feels as if it's being cleansed," Wuming said with a nostalgic expression. Wuming thought of Jeanne d'Arc. Alice was just like Jeanne d'Arc. She was calm, peaceful, and beautiful. "Is that so? Then I'm honored," Alice said with a smile. As for why Wuming did not feel this way when he faced Erica, it was because he was reminded of Erica Ainsworth. Moreover, Erica gave Wuming the impression that she was a strategic-type knight. That's right, she was like a cunning vixen. Erica suddenly looked at Wuming. She narrowed her eyes and said, "I have a feeling that you're thinking of something rude, Wuming." How is that possible?" "It's just an illusion. Wu-ming smiled awkwardly. Then, Lord Wu-ming, do you mind telling us the name of your friend?
Alice also wanted to know more about someone who could be called a friend by Wu-ming, who was both the god of disobedience and the god slayer.
Erica also looked at Wu-ming curiously, hoping that Wu-ming could answer. Wu-ming naturally would not dampen their spirits. Therefore Wu-ming said, her name is Jean. Jean? The two girls were somewhat confused. After all, this name sounded like the name of an ordinary girl. However, with Wu-ming's identity, could the girl he befriended, and even the girl who was his confidant, be an ordinary girl? Obviously it was impossible. While the two girls were puzzled, Wu-ming added, also known as Jean d'Arc. Jean d'Arc. The two girls exclaimed in surprise. When Wu-ming said this, the two girls understood. Although the name Jean d'Arc sounded like an ordinary girl's name, if there was a famous Jean d'Arc, it would be her. Could it be the Saintess of France, Jean d'Arc? Erica asked. Alice also looked at Wu-ming with concern in her eyes.
Wu-ming nodded with a smile and said, although she is France's Jean d'Arc, she has always denied that she is the Saintess. Ever since I led the people to war, from the moment I raised the flag, my hands have been stained with blood.
This is what she once said to me. Because Jean d'Arc was canonized hundreds of years after she was executed, logically speaking, she should not have said such a thing. But after all, Wu-ming's origin was mysterious, so the two girls did not ask how Jean d'Arc knew that they were the Saintess.
Then, with the feeling of the plane sinking, the three knew that they were about to arrive in England, so they did not discuss anything else.
After getting off the plane, a tomboy walked towards the three of them. Looks like someone is here to pick me up. Alice smiled. The tomboy in front of Alice walked over and said to Wu-ming, you must be the king of disobedience, Lord Wu-ming.
I'm sorry for the trouble my young lady has caused you.
Erickson bowed to Wu-ming apologetically. That's not the case. I actually quite like Alice, Wu-ming said politely.
Erickson seemed to have understood something, and his pupils shrank. Then he said, although I am very happy that Lord Wu-ming and Miss Alice got married, now is not the time to celebrate.
Marquis Warban is here. Marquis Warban. Alice and Erickson were shocked.
Wu-ming frowned and thought for a moment before saying to Erickson, he's here to see me, right?
See you?
Lord Wu-ming.
Erickson and Alice were both confused. After all, Wu-ming and Warban did not have any direct contact, so logically speaking, the two of them should not be related. Alice thought of something and quickly said, could it be the Gorgon stone? Chapter 172. It was an ordinary car. Erickson was in the driver's seat, Alice was in the passenger seat, and Wu-ming and Erica were in the back. After a simple explanation of the situation, Erickson brought the three of them into the car. No one spoke in the car. Firstly, it was because of Marquis Woban. Secondly, it was because of the oppressive atmosphere. Going back to the topic Alice had mentioned earlier, Woban was here for the Gorgon stone. After all, with Marquis Woban's personality, it was very likely that he was here for the Gorgon stone, which could attract the attention of the god of disobedience. But, even though it is very likely that Woban is here for the Gorgon stone, it is also possible that he is here for me, Wu-ming suddenly said. Wu-ming looked around at Erica and Alice and continued, you have to know that even though I am a god slayer, I am still a god of disobedience. Erica and Alice instantly understood when Wu-ming said this. With Marquis Woban's personality, he would definitely find a god of disobedience to hunt, but he wouldn't reject a god slayer of his own kind. If there was an existence that was both a god slayer and a god of disobedience, then it is very likely that Marquis Woban will come looking for trouble with you, Erica said. Alice said with some concern, not to mention, the Gorgon stone is still in your hands, Lord Wu-ming. Marquis Woban will definitely not mind taking it for himself. He wants to fight me and deal with Athena at the same time? What an energetic old man, Wu-ming said with some sarcasm. Erickson still maintained his duties as the driver and didn't say a word. It seemed that Erickson was still a little afraid of Wu-ming. However, there was nothing that could be done about it. After all, in the eyes of the Sage Council of Greenwich, who specialized in the study of godslayers, all godslayers were terrifying. In any case, the enemy is already here. I'm afraid we have no choice but to fight. Erica sighed. Alice, on the other hand, seemed a little worried. Wu-ming said, don't worry, Alice. I will fight with Marquis Warban within my barrier. It won't affect the surrounding cities. Alice paused for a moment, then nodded. Although Wu Ming said so, the worry in Alice's eyes was still there. Every time she looked at Wu Ming, the worry in her eyes deepened. Because of the arrival of Marquis Wu Ming, Erica and Wu Ming decided not to go to Alice's house. At the request of Wu Ming, Erickson stopped the car by the roadside. Wu Ming and Erica got out of the car. Alice still looked worriedly at Wu Ming and Erica. Please be extremely careful. If possible, please do not cross swords with Marquis Warban. Please use words to resolve the issue. Although Wu Ming didn't want to complain, Wu Ming still had to say it in his heart. Is it possible for the Godslayer to resolve the issue with words? Don't worry. With me, Erica Blantley, who has inherited the Diable Dragon, my master will have nothing to worry about, Erica said as she patted her chest. Of course, this was only if she could guarantee that she wouldn't be at a disadvantage when talking with Marquis Warban. Alice nodded and said, If it's Miss Erica, I can be a little more assured. Again, please be extremely careful. After that, Erickson sped away from the place even faster than before. Am I that scary? Wu Ming pointed at himself and said, You're the Demon King. It's natural for Miss Erica to be afraid of you. Erica giggled and covered her mouth. Wu Ming shrugged helplessly. Then the two of them came to a large building. This was the exclusive residence that the Sage Parliament of Greenwich had built for Marquis Warban after learning that he was coming. Wu Ming and Erica looked at the roof and looked at each other. This should be the address that Erickson provided for Marquis Warban. Wu Ming sighed. Speaking of which, the Sage Council sure has a lot of free time on their hands. They actually built such an exclusive residence for the Godslayer that's about to arrive. It's so grand that I feel bad about destroying it, Wu Ming continued. Erica looked at Wu Ming helplessly and said, That's because Marquis Warban is a veteran Godslayer who has been famous for a long time. Even the Sage Parliament of Greenwich, which specializes in investigating Godslayers, doesn't know the number of his powers and the specific abilities of his powers. Because the Sage Parliament of Greenwich was established in the middle of the 19th century, and Marquis Warban killed a Godslayer in the early 18th century, even the Sage Parliament, which specialized in Godslayers, didn't know about Marquis Warban's powers. You must be careful, my lord. Don't worry. Even so, I don't think I can lose. After all, I'm the master of the Red Devil, Diable Rouge, Wu Ming joked. As expected of my lord. This is a master worthy of my service. The corners of Erica's mouth curled up, revealing a brilliant smile. Then let's go. Let's meet this old man. With that, Wu Ming and Erica stepped into the large building. At the top of the building, a tall and thin old man in a black trench coat was sitting on a throne. A magic array was engraved in the center of the hall, and a girl with long chestnut-colored hair and white ceremonial robes knelt in the center of the magic array. Beside Marquis Warban stood a mage who looked like a corpse and whose face couldn't be seen clearly. He held a crystal ball in his hand and placed it in front of Marquis Warban. Looking at the crystal ball in front of him, Marquis Warban's lips curled up into a smile. His emerald-like vertical pupils exuded a wolf-like gaze. Marquis Warban looked at the Caucasian girl with a silver-white ponytail who was half kneeling with her head lowered. The young girl was wearing a black military uniform with yellow edges. She had a blue-gray striped shawl draped over her shoulders, a matching short skirt, white knee-high socks, and brown high boots. Her silver-white hair was tied into a high ponytail with a thin blue thread. The young girl seemed to be full of exotic charm. Now is the time to show your strength. Don't disappoint me, Liliana Kranikar. Liliana lowered her head even more and said, Yes, master. I won't disappoint my lord. With that, the girl called Liliana left. It seemed like she was going to stop Wu Ming and Erica. Marquis Warban looked at the crystal ball with joy and said, Let me see how you, the god of disobedience and the god slayer, can break through my servant. Let's use your strength to prove whether or not I need this witch. With that, Marquis Warban's wolf-like green eyes looked at the girl in ceremonial robes kneeling in the center of the magic array. God! The girl prayed. Chapter 173. As soon as they walked into the building, Wu Ming and Erica were attacked by a large number of undead.
After slashing the last undead with Reinhardt, Erica turned to Wuming, who had dealt with some of the undead and was standing by the side, watching her on the phone. After seeing Erica destroy the last undead, Wuming hung up the phone. "Thank you for your hard work, Erica," Wuming said. "It's my honor to clear the way for Master," Erica said with a charming smile. "That may be the case, but these undead are all at the level of Grand Knights. Nominally, they are the strongest fighting force below the Godslayer." Wuming was right. Each of these materialized undead had the power of a Great Knight, which was the highest level below the Godslayer. Erica, who was only 16 years old, had reached the Great Knight level at this moment. Because of her loyalty to Wuming, she received the title of Red Devil. The reason why she was said to be the strongest combat power below the Godslayer was that there was now an additional level, Paladin. The former Red Demon, Diable Rouge, Erica's uncle, Paul Brantley, who fought against the Black Prince Yarek with Alice, was promoted to a Paladin because of his deeds of fighting against the Godslayer. Because Paul's level had reached the highest Great Knight level, and above that was the Godslayer. Therefore, Greenwich's Sage Council updated a new level Paladin. It could be said that the level of Paladin was specially set up for Paul. As for who else would resist the Godslayer in the future, maybe they would also be promoted to Paladin. Because the theorem that humans could not defeat the Godslayer had been deeply rooted in people's hearts, the level of Paladin was set up for those who were above Great Knight, but not the Godslayer. Erica, who was only 16 years old, was able to reach the level of Great Knight. Coupled with her excellent character, it could be seen how good Erica was as a knight. "Of course, but it would be better if you leave these people to me, Wuming. I, Erica Brantley, will clear everything for my master." At this moment, Erica was like a proud lioness, full of pride. "Yes, yes, next time. I'm in a hurry now. I can't wait to see this old man." Afterward, Wuming and Erica walked up the stairs leading to a higher floor. "Was that a call from Salvatore just now?" Erica asked Wuming as they hurried along. "Well, he's the only one who can know my phone number and call me." Wuming looked a little tired at the moment and sighed. After being knocked unconscious by Wuming, Salvatore took almost 3 days to wake up. The first thing Salvatore did after waking up was to call Wuming. At this time, Wuming came to Marquis Wuming's building, so the scene of Erica cleaning up the undead appeared. That guy said something like, "You must be looking for trouble with old Master Warband now, so don't die. That old man is quite difficult to deal with, my good friend Wuming." Speaking of which, when did I become his best friend? Wuming smiled calmly. It was obvious that he felt helpless towards this fellow. Erica smiled slightly, showing a charming smile at the corner of her mouth. "Salvatore must have regarded you as a strong opponent. You should know that Salvatore is an idiot in all aspects except swordsmanship. Since he can remember your name, Wuming, it means that he has regarded you as a strong opponent." In fact, Erica was right. Salvatore was knocked unconscious in a few moves. Although there was a certain degree of luck and the other party was not familiar with Wuming's ability, Salvatore thought that a loss was a loss. As a result, Salvatore remembered Wuming. I wanted to ask him if he knew about Marquis Warband's authority. As a result, this guy said, "How can I remember this kind of thing? Just hit him." I don't know what to say. Wuming sighed again. "I'm also a fool for counting on that idiot," Erica smiled. "Wuming is more like a human than the god of disobedience and the god slayer." Wuming could not help but think of his previous life. If Wuming was not picked up by the old dean, who knows what he would have become now? He might become even weirder because no one took care of him, and he would look down on humans completely. Because of this, Wuming respected the old man who had passed away the most. Wuming was indeed a problematic child. Wuming could not despise humans now, thanks to the people Wuming met. Wuming's second most respected person and his skills mentor. Wuming was naturally very important to Wuming. Ireland, Britain, Uruk, Nasalik, France, and Toki City, Japan. Wuming recalled the lands he had experienced and the various people he had met. Thinking of this, Wuming was in a much better mood. Even the desire to fight with Marquis Warband had lessened a lot. "That's because I have a bond." Looking at Wuming, who was smiling particularly brightly, Erica was also stunned for a moment. Then she smiled as well. "Then, can I also be a part of it?" Wuming smiled and did not answer. Erica, on the other hand, saw the answer in Wuming's eyes.
For some reason, the other party did not stop them at all. Wuming and Erica did not encounter any enemies along the way. In the end, when Wuming and Erica were about to reach the top, a young girl walked out of the darkness. "So it's you, Lily." It seemed to be someone Erica knew. Seeing that she had taken out a silver military knife, Wuming did not say anything and continued to walk to the top. "I'll leave it to you, Erica." "Yes, my lord." Erica watched Wuming leave before looking at Liliana. "It's really fate to meet you here. I thought the rumors that you went to Marquis Warben's place were false." Liliana looked at Erica with a serious expression. Holding the silver military knife in her hand, she said, "There's no need to catch up. I've received Marquis Warben's order to stop you. Although I can't stop the advance of the King of Disobedience, I can stop your advance." As she spoke, Liliana's military knife began to glow. "Is that so? Then let's try it." Erica held the thin sword and placed it in front of her. Then, she continued. "It's time for a duel, Lionheart, Coeur de Lion. My wings become the steel of the phantom blade. Silver Master Craftsman, Il Maestro, grant me strength." As two prodigies of two Italian magic societies and the attendants of two kings, Erica and Liliana began to fight for their respective masters. At the top was an empty hall. In the center of the hall was a complicated and precise magic array. In the center sat a young girl with long chestnut-colored hair and ceremonial robes. In the center of the hall, a thin but shrewd old man sat there. Wu Ming slowly walked to this floor as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. In the darkness, Marquis Warben's green vertical pupils exuded a cunning gaze. His gaze was fixed on Wu Ming. Wu Ming looked at Warban. Neither of them spoke. The atmosphere began to become tense. Only the chestnut-haired girl trembled under the pressure of the two kings. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.